Hello, welcome to the WhisperTalk Bookstore. How can I help you? The name, yeah, it is a little bit odd. The name WhisperTalk Bookstore for a bookstore, but the owner insisted, and we couldn't really do anything about it. So now it's a WhisperTalk Bookstore. Yeah, we think it's funny too, but some people are a little kooky like that. Anyway, how can I help you? You're looking for a gift? Yeah, we do a lot of that here. What's the age range, or who's the gift for? Just a friend? Okay. And is it for a birthday or a graduation gift? Oh, it doesn't really matter for the book, but I'm just curious. A birthday? Okay. What's the age range? Your age as well? Okay. Yeah, we have a few books that immediately come to mind. I'll grab a few classic books as well as maybe 2 or 3 contemporary works, and from there you can decide. Yeah, no problem. And I should tell you that all of our books are used. This is primarily a used bookstore, and if there's anything that you want that's new, you can just tell us and we will order it for you. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, when I think of classic literature, one of the first books that comes to mind for me is actually a favorite of mine, and it's Miguel Cervantes' Don Quixote. Have you read it? You haven't. Okay. Well, this is one of my favorite books because it's so unique in its humor and style that for me it's always stood out. But it is a very well-known classical work. In terms of language and style, it's somewhat Shakespearean, though it was written in Spain by, like I said, Miguel Cervantes. And it's actually the only work by Miguel Cervantes that really gained any notoriety. Miguel Cervantes was a struggling writer and playwright for most of his life, and he never actually produced a lot that became successful. But this is one of his successful works. Yeah, it is quite a thick book, I know. And I know it can seem somewhat intimidating, but really it's an easy read. Or I would rather say a read that you will enjoy so that it won't feel like it's so long. Yeah, you're right. You will have to invest part of yourself into the book as well as your time, but really the abridged version doesn't do it justice. What's typical of a lot of old world literature, especially during this time period, is there's a lot of digression from the actual storyline and a lot of tangents that take on stories of their own. But that's one of the things that I've always loved about this book, is that it does do that. Yeah. A little too intimidating. No, I understand. It is somewhat challenging in terms of its length, but I think it's worth it. But, if you don't think your friend's going to like it, that's fine. I'll set it aside. Sticking to classical literature and work, this is a much shorter and a very easy book to read in terms of its diction and style. And that would be Albert Camus' The Stranger. Yeah, you've heard of this one. Have you read it? You have. Okay, yeah, and as you would know, the vocabulary is not very arduous in terms of understanding. However, the concepts portrayed in this novel are timeless, and that's why it remains one of, in my opinion, France's best books ever produced. Yeah. Oh, you think you would like that then? Okay, that's fine. Yes, well, it's very common to give our friends books that we liked, so I understand. And then, one final classical work that I might recommend is Lolita. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. No classical collection can be complete without some Russian literature. And Lolita is one of my favorite books produced by Nabokov. Yeah, it was one of, I believe, his first really famous books. I believe it was written in the 50s, but the style in writing is reminiscent or takes a lot of characteristics from Old World literature. And in my opinion, Old World literature is, I don't want to say superior, but more poetic and fluid than contemporary literature. Yeah. No, I'm glad you agree. But this book takes somewhat of a morbid approach to a relationship between an older gentleman and a young girl. Yes. Well, a lot of people are familiar with the story and haven't read the book, so I would suggest this only because it's such a, I guess, referenced work and masterpiece. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You'll want that as well. Okay, it's fine. You know what? I do have one final work that is considered a classic or classical. It's much less known, but it is Marquise de Sade's Incest, and you want to stay away from Marquise de Sade in general. Yeah. No, I understand. He's a lot of his work is quite morbid, and I understand why someone would want to stay away from his works. But yeah, that's fine. To each their own. Going away from classics. This is a contemporary piece that is not really targeted towards an older demographic, but teens in general. However, the illustration in this book is so fascinating and original that I really suggest that even though you're an adult or your friend's an adult, that you go through it, or at least review it, because it's really unique to this book. Yes, yeah, I'll be more than happy to show you. So the book is completely illustrated, and sorry, and the book is completely illustrated and has no writing involved. However, the illustrations are so detailed that I think it can operate as a story and is on par with written works. Yeah, so the stories are all kind of horror based, which is also fun at night if you're, if you can't go to sleep and are still too tired to read. Yeah, so an example of what the illustration looks like would be, oh, this is a good one. This is an example of what the illustration is like. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so what that is, in this story, there's a man who enters a hotel, and after eating a free dinner, he begins becoming ill, and it's quite morbid, but by the end of the story, we learn that the man entered a human version of a roach motel, and that in this morbid, surreal world, cockroaches are larger than humans, and we are their version of insects. Yes, and we're considered pests. So they do rid of us through poison. Yeah, I don't think it was really ever successful, but it should have been. It really should have been. I think it's the only work done by this particular illustrator that I know of, and I hate to see it lie on the shelf forever because we only have 2 copies, and one of those copies is mine, and it upsets me that no one buys the other one. You would like that? Okay. You want it for yourself, though? Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. Yeah, since that's the only copy that we have, I recommend keeping it for yourself. You can get your friend something else. Okay. Sorry, would you like one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're just, they're meant to relieve stress and headache. And, they're just little. They're kind of like jelly beans, but a lot better. You would want one? Okay. There you go. Yeah, that's fine. I would take I like the lemon more, so yeah. That's fine. Moving on to more contemporary work. And like I said, I don't appreciate contemporary work as much as old world work. However, in my opinion, Doris Lessing is one of our best contemporary writers currently. You haven't heard of her? Yes, she's not as well known as a lot of other writers. However, her work is fantastic, and she deals with a lot of, I don't want to say sci-fi. However, I will say a lot of surreal work. In this book, for example, she takes 2 characters, Mara and Dan. Mara being the protagonist in the book. And in this story, it takes place in a futuristic world, or I don't want to say futuristic, but it takes place in the future. However, much of human civilization has become more primitive, and that's because there was a large drought in the world as a whole, and because of that, people reverted to very, very primitive social behaviors and social ways of interacting with one another. Yes. And the reason I love it so much is because while it takes place in a surreal, horrible future, the reason I like it so much is because this future and this overall background for the story does not interfere with the focus, which is Mara and Dan's relationship as brother and sister. Well, in the story, they become separated at a very young age, and then most of the story takes place around A, them finding each other, and then B, them making their way to the north of Ifrik, which is the future nation that they live in, and from there, finding water. You would be interested in that? Okay. And is this one for you or your friend? Your friend. Okay. So, there is a part 2 to that novel, and I don't know if you'd want to get this right now, so he has both, or if you'd want to wait until he's read the first one and he can decide if he'd like another or the sequel. You want to wait? Yeah, that's fine. And to give you an example of what this woman looks like, Doris Lessing, it's a small image, I hope you can see, but that's Doris Lessing. You probably can't see. Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine. You can look her up later. And for a final book, this isn't really a novel, but more of a journal, a series of journal entries by Mark Twain. You've heard of it, yes. The Innocents Abroad is very well known. And what actually happened was Mark Twain was paid by a publishing company and a newspaper to travel throughout Europe, eventually visiting the Holy Land. And he recorded his journey along the way. You don't have it. Have you read some of the stories though? You have, yeah. They are quite humorous. Mark Twain is a very witty individual. Would you like a copy of this? You would? Okay. For you or your friend? This one's for you as well. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can't go into a bookstore either without buying something. And are you going to want anything wrapped? Just the gifts for your friend? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can wrap that for you. So Mara and Dan, which like I said is a great book. She isn't that well known, so I'm happy that someone's reading her. Then Lolita by Nova. Why am I so delicate with them? Well, because, to me, books have a type of entity to them, and you should be delicate. Yeah. And then finally, Albert Camus, The Stranger. And just, you can just take a sheet from there and give us all of your friends' shipping information, and we can send it directly to them. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just ring your books up at the front, and then you can be ready to go. Well, I'm glad that I could help you find everything, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope your friend enjoys those gifts.